how do we combat it then? How do we avoid railroading? Um, okay, let's just take the two pieces that we had. So puppeteering. Unfortunately, with puppeteering, as the player is heading out, right, you you know what? I think that this fits for both of them. So I would say stop railroading and start filtering. Okay, so filtering meaning if you could think of funneling. Let's start funneling is what I actually wanted to say. So if you think of a funnel, right, it's got this wide end and it shrinks down into a small end, and ideally that's how your games should kind of go, right? If you and you can look this all up, but I generally try to have a like beginning, middle, and end of my adventures slash campaigns, and so everything that the players are doing is sort of funneling into the middle piece, right? And then everything they do in the middle piece is sort of funneling into the end piece, and then the end piece funnels all the way into a big um, climax, a big conclusion, right? Now, how do we do that? Uh, Much easier said than done, obviously. But what you can do is you can restrict the number. No, how do we say this? You can always change where something is headed. You don't have to do it immediately, right? So as someone's walking out of bounds, you don't have to have said person who's walking out of bounds um, uh, get stopped by the invisible wall and say, "No, go this way," right? Turn around. You've got the the wrong way. Turn around. The camera guy, or is it the camera guy? The little dude in the cloud with the fishing pole or whatever in Mario Kart, right? Turn around. You're going the wrong way if you're driving backwards. I would always drive backwards to smash into people when I got bored, so it's fun. All right, off topic, back on topic. So allow, let's say, okay, let's take that exact same thing. This player's trying to walk out of bounds and do something. Let's say he is going to the next town over instead of following the main quest where he was going to go. Well, there's so many ways that you can always take whatever the player's doing and eventually loop it back in, right? It may take a side quest or two to get it looped back around, but it's totally possible, right? So you can always draw some connection between where they currently are and where you need them to get going. Okay, and you could draw them in by, again, assuming you don't have these malicious players who are always trying to ruin your campaign, which at that point, again, another conversation outside of the table. But let's say that they head off to this town. Well, let's say that, a bunch of bandits show up and they are attacking this town, and you eradicate them, and then the townspeople are like, "Oh, we get this all the time. Like, we just really need someone to just go send them a message." So you just like, "Yeah, like I feel good about this. Let's go take them on." And so as you head to the bandit camp and take them on, and you send them the message, and you either kill them all or you pound them into the dust and tell them to stop. Well, maybe you find out that their leader was taking bribes from the actual big bad guy, who now you've got a whole nother connection. Oh, or it doesn't even have to be that obvious. Like, let's back up a couple steps. They're taking bribes from the connection that's over in the town where they were supposed to go before, right? You can draw these connections, but either way, you can funnel people in to places. Now, don't make it too obvious. It doesn't have to be that exact town. Maybe you take whatever you had, whatever your circle of order is for that town, and you just move it to a different town too, right? And the point being that things do not have to unfold the way that you have specifically imagined them. When you prep and you create that circle of order, you need to make sure that things are abstract enough that you can take these puzzle pieces, you know, well, I don't even like to think of them as puzzle pieces because puzzle pieces only have one place to go. In fact, that's probably a good analogy to avoid. Don't make a puzzle the entire time. Like your story shouldn't look like a puzzle in a sense, right? There shouldn't be only certain spots that every little thing can fit because you're going to be sorely disappointed as a DM, and your players are going to feel also sorely disappointed because they're not going to follow. They're not going to put the puzzle together correctly. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. And so yeah, so you can always draw these connections wherever you need it to go, right? And so just roll. You got to roll with it. If they go into another town and, all this stuff's happening, like you can totally go with it. You've seen enough movies to know what to do. Just pick something up, piece it together. Heck, you could even plug into ChatGPT real quick and just say, "Hey, what's a quick adventure for a D&D group heading into a city?" I don't care. It doesn't really matter. The players need something to do, and you'll be okay. You've got enough material. In fact, sometimes you may need to just use something that you've been thinking about putting in the future. Use it right then and there, right? You're always going to have better and better ideas. It will come. It will happen. It's your execution that really is what's key, right? And if you're excited about an idea that you're holding on to preciously because maybe, it doesn't quite fit in said puzzle piece, then you're going to be disappointed. Your players aren't going to have as much fun as they wanted because when that idea is there, it's alive and it's calling to you, obviously, because you're excited about it, right? So don't hold back, I guess, is what I could say. Haven't been much help on how to avoid and I don't really have I don't have that much advice on other than just telling you don't do it, right? If your player's heading out of bounds, just let them go. Let them go to where they need to go and give them stuff. Keep them fed, whatever they're looking for, right? And again, you've watched enough D&D from other people. You've played enough D&D from other people. You have read enough books. You've watched enough movies. You know what to do. You can easily take one of those items, twist it just a little bit, take one piece out of it. Heck, you could probably just play it straight off the bat, and it makes your world feel alive. It makes it feel like players can make choices. And drawing those connections helps players feel like even when they're off doing something that they wanted to do, it can still affect the overall campaign, that their choices, even when they're not what you have prepared, still matter. Okay? I don't... With filtering, this is just coming to mind real quick again. So with filtering, you can reduce, you reduce the options that you give players, right? Again, with this, if you don't give enough options, players are more likely to be chaotic or more likely to just, like, yeah, I guess they're either going to be very chaotic and they just go anywhere, right? Or they're going to be static and they're not going to move at all. And you're going to be stuck with bored players. Or you're going to be stuck with unsatisfied players because you can't keep up with that much chaos. And so, ideally, you have something prepared. You have a location where you want your players to get to, or a certain percent of progress that you need them to be at before they, you have this point in your mind in the future where you need them to be. Now, how they get there is, they're going to be taking these turns, but what you're doing is you're going to be redirecting those decisions. So, and again, redirecting in the way that you can give them hooks, plot hooks, quest hooks that lead them back to where you need them to be, that bring them back to said main quest, said order or circle of order, and then they're back in your realm again, right? And the best part about this, that whole piece, is that they don't know it's happening, because they don't know what's coming out, right? Their circle of order is them as the character. It's their play. And you are the chaos for them, right? They don't know what you have prepped. They don't know what's coming out of your mouth. They don't know what kind of improv you're doing. A lot of times they don't know if you're improving or if you had it all prepared to begin with. If you're confident enough to just roll with it, right? And so I would say, just to finalize my thoughts on this, allow your players to do whatever they want, but make sure, for the sake of yourself, that you are funneling those decisions into progress towards the next piece of your campaign. Okay? Don't restrict what players can do. Don't tell players what they are doing, but restrict, lower, maybe is a better word, lower the number of options that you present them in a strategic way to get them to do the things that you need them to do.